The SBDC is actually an arm of the SBA, the Small Business Administration. We were created, about 40 years ago by Congress for the very reason, as I mentioned earlier, small businesses were failing at a rate of 80%, in the first, 3 to 7 years or so. Not a good track record. We need to get that changed. And they felt some of the things that were missing was there was no one-on-one counseling going on, business mentoring. Education was lacking, and it's evolved over time. We've gone from books and things of that nature, and providing written materials and everything too to help the individual along. We have resources for that as well, because we subscribe to databases, that have a lot of that information on it. So if you need any information with regards to a particular type of venture you're going to go out on and don't know where to start, call us. So the proliferation of small businesses means intense competition. If you don't think there's competition out there, take another look. There may be direct or may be indirect. Direct is those that are in the same industries you are. Indirect, there's only so much money out there that people have, to pay for product and services, and they'll go wherever the need directs them for. I would recommend to the people in the rural area too, is to do a feasibility study and look at the financial projections of what your business is about. Put together some assumptions for the startup as far as the costs go, how much is needed, what funds the owner will need versus other sources of funds, and will the new business really generate a profit? Do you want to know what the competition is doing? A lot of times when we work with small clients and everything too, we have to go shop your competition. Be a customer of theirs, and you tell me how they're doing, or yourself. Or be one of those that you got curiosity, to find out exactly how well they're doing, because you're going to look at where are they located at, how well is their service, what's the quality of their products, what's their pricing. You want to know exactly what of those elements you could take advantage of. As I said, you need to be different. You need to be better than the competition. So you need to find your niche where you're going to fit in and make a sustainable business, out of your new venture. So the first step is really is reaching out to someone that even talking to some of the competitors in your field. You'd be surprised how many people like to talk about their businesses. And one of those may be, if you haven't got the experience, go work in that industry. We get a lot of people who come in and want to start a cafe or a coffee shop or a restaurant. And I always ask the questions, have you worked in the industry for any length of time? And generally the answer is, a lot of times, is no. I says, do that first. Get out there, work in the industry for at least a couple of years. Learn as much as you can. If you've got no funds of your own to start a business, wait. Wait till you've done some savings of your own. Figure out what that target number is going to be that you're going to need to start your business venture with. So postponing for a year, there's nothing wrong with that. Banks will not lend you their money. It's not really their money, it's the depositor's money to qualify that. Unless you've got some, as I call it, the skin in the game. How much are you willing to risk of your funds before the bank will, risk theirs? Obviously, there's other places you can go. Once you've got your money and everything too, a lender is one of those. There's different types of lenders. In your rural areas, you're probably going to have a little bit of a limited type of financial institutions to go talk to. Some cases you're going to have to get on the phone and talk with somebody. I don't see any other way you can do that out there. But you may want to go talk to your village corporation too. At times, they've got grants or programs that are going on to fund small business startups. And we're seeing more of that happening here in the last couple of years. So start with that. So other sources of funds and everything too can come from friends, families, other investors, lenders, SBA programs. We'd like to have people take a look at also. Keep in mind that the SBA or BIA or the USDA are not lenders. They provide guarantee programs to the lenders to lend the money, to these up and coming new enterprises. It only means that the guarantee is for them, not for you as the individual. There's several out there that would like to loan you money, but buyer beware. There's a lot of scammers out there too. If you don't know if this is if you're contacting one of those or they've contacted you, and we're finding that they find you, if you've bought a business license, something like that too, they seek you out right away. Know who they are, ask a lot of questions. If you're still unsure, get a hold of the SBA, the SBDC, a bank, somebody else who's in a financial role or position who can actually vet to see if those businesses are legitimate. Keep in mind those businesses also are going to charge you a much higher interest rate to borrow their funds. Where you might get a more favorable rate here in-state, you're going to get a much unfavorable rate outside. But the result is what you're trying to get is the funds, right? Investors, kind of take different looks at things. For example, they're looking at a business from the standpoint, is the innovation, is the idea, the concept, is it something that either doesn't exist in the market right now, does it have a demand for the product, or is it so much better than the one that already exists, that they look to ask some more questions about the individual who's putting the idea together. So lenders are looking for those innovations, but also they're looking for your abilities. What do you know about the business itself? And what's your experience, with that particular product or service? What have you done yourself as far as research? What education have you gotten? What training have you got, with regards to that too? And be able to show and demonstrate. You got to be able to tell your story. Investors are looking for a way to provide the funding for these ventures and everything too, so that they can get the payback, generally, I want to say 3 to 5 years out there. So they're looking at the enterprise. Will it grow substantially enough over that period of time so they not only do they get their money back, but they get it back with the interest. These investors are people who have had their own businesses over the years, and they've gone through the hardships, the trial and errors, the hiccups along the way, all the challenges that they've seen, everything too. So what they're trying to do is help this entrepreneur, to avoid some of those pitfalls. So they get up and running a lot sooner and see that growth. Probably my first answer to that would be, why you? And why you? You got to answer that question. You've got this idea, this dream of this enterprise you want to start. What's missing in your particular market that is motivating you to start this venture, this journey that you're going to go on? Let's do the research. We want you to do a little bit of a feasibility study, even do a survey. And by that I mean you devise a survey of 10 to 15 questions that you can send out to your Facebook fans or to your friends and families, people in your rural area and everything too, to get some feedback on your particular concept or idea. And there's a number of different ways to do that for free. Google's got one of those to do free surveys. SurveyMonkey's another one. Survey Pro's another. That's really important to know. And devise the questions in such a way so that you're getting really unbiased information, everything back with regards to how the product or the service will be either embraced or not. So whether a business is a startup or a going concern, a trait of many successful businesses is being able to recognize the market opportunities. And that's what I'm talking about. And then be able to capitalize upon them. So I really kind of encourage all of you who are rural business entrepreneurs out there is really kind of do your homework. And by homework is do your research. But do a plan. Please do a plan. If you start off with no plan, that means you have no roadmap. You really don't know where you're going.